It's Women in Construction Week, and a big piece of what we want to do this year is to bring the real stories behind the women that, prop up our industry and participate and make our industry better. I wanted to dig down into the real story. So we met with a couple of our ladies, but the one you're going to watch this time in this video her name is Morgan Williams. Morgan works in our design team. Morgan came on here as an assistant PM, and she has a really interesting story about how her career materialized from some, inspiration from teachers at her school as she was growing into a young woman and trying to figure out her way. I'm here with Morgan, and we're going to chat about Women in Construction Week, but overall we're going to chat about Morgan's career and how she ended up here at Energy Electric, what the future holds, all of that fun stuff. So that's kind of where I wanted to get started. From like a young age, Morgan, was it like always kind of an idea, construction in the back of your mind, or at what point of life did it start to think about, hey, I might just get into construction?
I actually was pretty young. So as a child, I convinced my parents to buy this architectural program for the computer.
Okay. What was that called?
I don't remember.
Okay.
So it was
like
early
a
90s.
PC,
a PC. Like we bought it at CompUSA.
Right.
It was like a disc you load in. But I was always really interested in like design and like spatial awareness and all of that. So I kind of tinkered around with that as a child. When I went to high school, I took 3 years of AutoCAD, and that was kind of my like first introduction of being like, I really like doing this. I was the only female in the class, that was my sort of like first introduction of seeing that there were not many females in this industry, and that it was like very male driven.
Yeah. Where did you go to school?
I went to Barville High School, so public school in Barville.
Okay.
Yep.
That was cool that they had a course like that.
They did. Yeah. Honestly, what I learned there is the foundation of my whole career.
Yeah.
They had me design the girls' locker room at the high school. Like, so we have a rink there.
Right.
I designed the girls' ice rink hockey.
Okay. Very cool. And what was the feeling? I don't know if you can remember, but as regards sitting into that classroom that day, well, you did realize, right? Were you the only girl in the class?
I was.
Yeah.
So
was that because, sometimes with me, sometimes it comes to even business or like, if I'm the odd one out, it's almost motivating, that I'm the odd one out. And that, I find it sometimes over here with the accent, right? Or if I'm in certain scenarios or we're bidding a project that we're the small fish, right? In the last few years, maybe not as much anymore, but how did that strike you from day one, that it's more of an opportunity than a hindrance being the girl?
It did. I saw right away that there was a difference, and that it gave me the opportunity to sort of show that like I deserved a seat at the table, and that we offer a different perspective, but we can do it just as well.
Yeah. That's a great attitude to have, because it's almost like that. It's a secret sauce. Like, I know my wife Kat plays poker with me and my friends. She's always said that she'd read up on like Annie Duke is a famous poker player, and she was like, if it's a female at the poker table, she uses all of the female traits at the poker table to her advantage.
Right.
It's not like she's the wilting flower in the corner of the poker table. Quite the opposite. She takes a real motivation by the fact that she's the female at the poker table with the big hotshot, big ego guys.
Right.
I can work that to my advantage.
Yeah.
And she did. So I'm not saying it's like exactly like that, but it sounds a little bit like that. So that was obviously right. The seed was planted as regards construction. Was it architectural type stuff you were thinking, or design? Or?
I was kind of open to anything. Yeah. One of my favorite projects that I remembered was my teacher had young children, and he brought in all of these toys, and he just kind of gave each kid a toy, and we had to draw it in 3D. And it was challenging because the way that AutoCAD works, you have to take pieces out rather than drawing. Okay. It's like you come with a block and then you take out all these pieces. But I would find myself thinking about it outside of class.
Yeah.
Like, how can I solve this?
That's pretty cool.
And that's how you know that like it's something that you like on a deeper level.
100%. Yeah. That's a fact. And we've got our own. You've some older and some younger kids yourself, right? And it's like, if they ever come to ask me about what do they want to do, and that question gets asked as they get into being teenagers and whatnot. But I always I feel if there's a passion, if there's something that you're coming into your mind outside of when you're doing it or when you have to do it, it's bothering you, or in the sense of like you're really agitated to get back to it.
Yeah.
There's a sign.
Right.
There's a sign that's something that you really like. And it might not feel like it's almost like an itch, kind of. It sounds like a little bit like that. But you did mention about the teacher Was that teacher in particular, what was that person's name, or who do you remember?
So there was two, it was Mr. Rose and Mr. Boucher, and between the two of them, they were very encouraging, and they taught me everything I know. And actually my brother as well, he's in a similar field, he's in fire protection, but
cool.
Same for him. He learned AutoCAD from them, and that was the basis of his career as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you remember one of those teachers in particular? Because it's always, sometimes there's one person.
Mr. Rose, I would say. And he's still teaching in Burreville, and my oldest had him, and it's like so funny to look back. But yeah.
And he's still having an effect, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So then, what was the plan then with for college? Was college something in your family? Have your family all went to college, or what was the thought, I suppose, in your family as regards college?
So when we got to the college point, I didn't consider not going.
Right.
It was always that's the next step of picking a school.
Yeah.
But I actually planned on going for education. I wanted to be a tech ed teacher.
Right.
So
that makes sense. I could see that. I could still see that. Yeah.
that same teacher who taught me everything that I know told me not to do it. He told me not to be a tech ed teacher, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I think that he knew that there were more opportunities elsewhere, and that he wanted to see me do something else, I guess.
Right.
So I'm actually thankful that I took that advice.
What do you feel, I suppose, at this stage of your career, lessons learned that stand out to you?
So there's a couple. One of the big ones in pre-construction that we work on a lot is that every mistake is an opportunity to learn, and that reinforcing early on that those mistakes that happens, but it's also such a great way to reinforce how something's done correctly, and not to get too down on ourselves about, because everybody makes mistakes, but usually those mistakes are often the ones that stick with you and help you become a stronger employee, learning more along the way.
I think that's the other piece too. Would you think that in your department you guys do a good job of bringing mistakes quickly to light?
We do, yes. One of the things that we do is when we get a new project, we run it through a survey, and the questions on our survey are mistakes that have been made in the past, or things that have gone wrong, or that we've seen on a job that wasn't even necessarily a mistake that we've made, but it's something that we saw that was a one-off that is important to catch. So we try to run all of these things through that net to try to stop them before they get too far.
Yeah. And do you feel then too the approach to mistakes and the approach to lessons learned means a lot to how quickly they can be utilized as kind of assets in a way, right? That you look at it and go, we're trying here all the time to break the mold and do this thing better.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think there's probably plenty of examples, because you started in the design world after working as an assistant project manager. You've all of that experience that we talked about. Have you seen that in the past, or with in other companies, for example, or even in your personal life too? Right? Is there, and because that's just our biggest thing here in some respects when it comes to this type of topic, is that we're so keen on learning.
Yes.
Learning more when the only way to learn is by doing. Right.
I think that the culture here at Energy is that we're such a supportive group, and that we know that everybody's learning. Where in the past, it almost would feel like if you made a mistake, you felt like you needed to fix it and sort of brush it under the rug. This happened. But here, I don't feel like we do that. I feel like we say, this happened. Let's work together to fix it. We sort of own up and work through it as a team. Yeah, 100%. And it's even to the point where it gets a little weird for me, in the sense that when things go wrong, I get excited, right? It's almost like if you have that kind of a culture of learning, that great, let's jump on this. Why did it go wrong? What's wrong with the system, the SOP, whatever it is? And if it's a people thing, right, you learn about people. If they're just not used to following it, or and again, let's not call it what it is. Some people are just not good at what they do in the sense of following and understanding. And if you come as a company too, if you come here and have a history of, it's just going to be total drama, meltdown if I bring this to light. Maybe it won't get seen. Who cares? We'll just keep. It won't work here, right? It just won't work here. Because that excitement of a mistake for me is because that's what has made us better. Right. I think that it's just a positive environment as well. That the way that we work together, we're all willing. We all know that we make mistakes.
Yes.
and we work together to solve them.
And I think, something I also think is it's curious that at Energy Electric, there's not too many people in the office, and in the field, but, in the field we're pretty settled with experience-wise, but people in positions, leadership positions that haven't been there that long or doing that particular position that long, like yourself, like other people. So, Nate, me as a CEO, I've been bluffing this since 2021, right? So it's like, I think there's also been a culture of, well, we're all new to the positions and we've never really had an ego with the position to say, well, I've been doing this 20 years.
Right.
Shut up and listen. I'll tell you how it is.
Right.
There's none of that here because, again, we feel like a younger company in that regard, right?
Absolutely. There's no being perfect. It's all just trying to be better.
Exactly. It's a big deal. So, with Women in Construction Week, Morgan, then, talk to me a little bit what that means, because it was something I had put on the calendar the last couple of years and have been really taking notice of now, right? We can participate in it. Because some of the times too, I find these weeks, right, where there's a focus on, whether it be an apprentice, whether it's women, whether it's minorities, whether it's whatever, right? It can be a kind of a patronizing week in some respects, right? It's let's get out on LinkedIn and make sure we're seen to be acknowledging it.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to be doing is to be, look, they don't care about women in construction because they didn't even put anything up on LinkedIn, stuff like that, right? And I feel this week what we've been trying to do, when it comes to this, is to acknowledge it, but let's talk about it in a real way.
Right.
What does it mean to you, I suppose, before we decided to have this conversation? Were you aware of it, or in the past, have you known about it in other, all the other years you were working?
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
Right.
Until you invited me to do this. I think that being a woman in construction is challenging and inspiring. I'm often one of the only women in the room. I've come to see that competence, consistency, professionalism speak louder than anything else, and sort of helps you hold that position at the table. When you show up prepared and do your job well, you can earn that respect on your own. Being in this industry has really allowed me to broaden my perspective and demonstrate that the technical expertise and leadership really have nothing to do with your gender.
Right.
Yeah.
So, other aspects of it, I think, when it comes to women in construction, is as 17, 18, 19-year-olds trying to get into the industry, what would you say to maybe 18-year-old Morgan, or to any 18-year-old girl who's looking at the electrical apprenticeship, looking at electrical, project management, whatever that might be? What would you say to someone who's considering it?
I would say not to hesitate, to definitely look into a trade, that there's so many opportunities and so many doors that could be opening for you. Also, not to be afraid to step into an opportunity, even if you don't feel 100% ready. Leaning in and just staying prepared and doing what you need to do and trusting yourself, that real confidence will develop through the real experience.
Well, and I think it's also, and I'd be interested to hear what you think when it comes to, understanding what construction is, and that's something we're trying to do. And I think people like you on interviews in conversations like this are important to educate and show the career path.
Absolutely.
So it's like they've got to understand, as an electrical apprentice at 17, 18 years old, after coming out of a vocational school, and you're a female, you're seeking out those females to come in, but once you're in, you're like we just said, you're gonna have to work, right? Probably a little harder than the rest, maybe.
The opportunities are endless, though. There's so many different directions to move, and never discount yourself for thinking you can't be in any of those roles.
All of those roles, and it's like, there's even, talking about these days with TikTok and Instagram, there's opportunities to put your story up there, get a huge amount of followers, get Milwaukee brand deals. I'm only talking about something like this because there's a girl, Lexi, the electrician, I think her name is, on Instagram that I follow, and she's phenomenal. And she just does videos of all of the work she's doing. She's stuck in the trenches doing work underground, and she has other stuff that's going on in her life. But there's an aspect of that when you think about it. You think about all the opportunities. There's an opportunity there,
right?
Because how many female electricians are out there putting that kind of content out that you can follow and go, well done to you, and it's like a success story that keeps on giving.
It's realistic.
And she's earned it. It's real.
I'll have to follow her.
Yeah, it is. It is. I followed her because I was doing some stuff on myself on social media, so I kind of wanted to see some of the stuff that she was doing and how she was doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested in how she's doing it, and that's just another avenue.
Yes.
Possible, right?
Yeah.
There's no question on it. And, I think the other piece then too, what do you feel if you're going to have that conversation with 18-year-old Morgan? Let's talk to 18-year-old Morgan now here. What would you tell her, if you could give her one thing that she doesn't know now that she, you could whisper in her ear and let her know that this is something that you would like to maybe pass on?
I would say not be afraid to follow a path that isn't common, you know, I don't have any friends in construction that are females, and just don't be afraid to find something different and to just go for it.
Go for it is the biggest thing, isn't it? And do you find when you're maybe out meeting new people, you know, out as a mom, and you know, someone says to you, "What do you do?" Is there a sense of kind of pride that you can talk about that?
Absolutely,
versus
absolutely.
maybe a more regular female career?
Tell them I work in pre-construction for an electrical firm, and they're always kind of like,
I would expect it.
No, they don't expect it, and it always is a little funny.
Yeah, it is, because it's and to be honest with you, if I met you and we were maybe standing beside a basketball practice and it was the first game of the season and you turn around and said that to me, and obviously I'd be, oh great, something interesting to talk about. Whereas I laugh at I have a buddy that here in Mansfield that I have, and he's a partner with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and he always jokes anytime anyone asks him what he does, he's an accountant. He said the conversation doesn't go too far after that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Who wants to talk about taxes, right?
Right, it's true.
Whereas I think, you know, it's the opposite for that conversation for you, and I feel that's very cool, because it's a pride there too, right? You know, you're not doing this a couple of weeks. Yes, 100%, and you continue to work hard, Morgan, and you know, I think, you know, 5 years from now at Energy Electric, have you thought about that? What that looks like?
I don't know. The opportunities are endless.
They are endless.
We'll be here, and by then I will have finished the apprentice program.
Yes, that's true.
So
you'll be a qualified electrician.
I will be,
Morgan. A journey person electrician. That's one thing we're working on here. I said it earlier on, 4-person. We're trying to, maybe for women construction, that's a good thing too. We've changed titles here at Energy Electric because we're trying to look at, well, if I'm a first-year apprentice female and I want to be a 4-person, well, I don't like calling it a foreman. You know, people say, well, it's human. No, it's not. It's came out of it. Yeah, we could say that, but I don't think that's technically true. Someone could point out to me it is. But I think it screams male. And I think the other piece for us too is, you know, talking about, you know, journey person versus journeyman electrician, right? You know, there's opportunities just to change your language, a little bit of effort. I think that goes a long way to making sure that everyone feels comfortable about what we're doing here. So.
Absolutely.
Again, Morgan, thank you so much for sitting with us and sitting with me and chatting about this. It's important stuff. It's real, and that's why I like the conversation. And thank you.
Thank you.